If you're watching this, you're probably struggling with tension, pain, or just general technical difficulties. In this video, you will learn the tips and tricks that will help you unlock a better sound, better intonation, less tension in your playing, and being able to play longer without pain. So many violinists and violists get very tired in orchestra rehearsals. And part of the reason, I think, starts with how they bring their instrument up to play. So, let's do a simple test. Bring your instrument up to play, and with your right hand, measure the distance between your elbow and your body, like this. Now, bring your instrument up like this, facing away, and bring it to your body from above, to your collarbone. Now, with your right hand, measure the distance between the elbow and the body. You see, it's much bigger. That's because when you bring your instrument from below, these muscles are very closed off. If you bring your instrument from above, however, now this is open, and you will get a much bigger sound. Another one of the most common problems I see with violists and violinists alike has to do with the way that the instrument sits on their body. Many people, because of the word shoulder rest, think that the instrument should be sitting on the shoulder. Here is a simple test. Take your right hand and press down on your right shoulder. Notice what happens to your spine if you press quite hard. See how your spine goes like this? Now, take your right hand and press down on your collarbone. Nothing happens to your spine. So, when you bring your instrument up to play, make sure that it actually sits on the collarbone and not mostly on the shoulder. If you notice that the instrument is actually floating above the collarbone, this is a recipe for many, many problems to come. A good rule of thumb to setting up the right height of chin rest should be the following. You have to put your instrument on your collarbone and then, with your fingers, measure a distance of 2 fingers between the chin rest and the chin in normal position. If the distance is bigger, what you will end up with is people who have to do this with their head. A little bit like the Egyptian hieroglyphs. This is the source of so much pain for people, some of whom have been playing the violin like this for 30 years. But having a chin rest that's too tall, it's not good either. If I add this to my chin rest, now I feel stuck like a giraffe. So, the perfect height, the distance between your chin rest and your chin should be around 2 fingers. This will allow you to put your head on the instrument. Of course, you want to make sure that the contact point between the chin rest and the chin is actually not on the chin, but on the jawbone. That's also another big misconception. People think chin rest has to go on the chin, and then they do this. Look how unnatural this looks. Now, if I put my jawbone here on the chin rest, I can even talk. Hello, my name is Wilhelm. While I play. If you cannot talk while you play, that means you have tension in your body. Okay, now look at the difference between these 2 excerpts. Notice the difference in the sound? It has to do with the activation of the core muscles. First of all, let's do a little benchmark. Walk around normally as you usually do. And now, take both your hands, put them like this, and try to actively pull your fingers apart. They're not going to come apart, but you should still keep trying. Now, put this behind your head and try while doing this to walk around. Do you feel a difference? If you answered yes, that is because while doing this, your core muscles are now engaged. So try to get this sensation when you play the viola. Now listen to the difference between these two excerpts. Hear the difference in the sound? In this case, the difference comes from not holding tension in your hips. Very often, I find that violinists and violists alike both tend to lock their hips. And if they were to try to walk, you would get something that looks like a penguin walk, which is not ideal. So, what we want to do is think of your hips as being able to rotate this way, like a seesaw. Now, if I do that, like I'm super tired and trying to walk, both of my hips move like this. Try it. Now, try to walk around like you're very, very, very tired. Feel your hips moving like a seesaw. And now try to do it while playing the viola. Make sure that you do not walk like a penguin. Do not walk like this. It helps to walk at a decently brisk pace. Once you've mastered this, you should already see a big improvement in your sound. I would advise everybody to practice while walking around. But how do we translate this to when we have to stand in place? Of course, this is an exaggeration, but this motion will allow you to release the tension that's building up in your lower back. The worst you can do as an orchestral musician is to sit like this with your back to the chair. It feels great in the moment, but within half an hour of doing tremolo on the C string like this, you're going to be completely sore and exhausted. A lot of people resort to sitting on the edge of their chair like this. However, particularly if the chair is curved inwards, you will develop a lot of tension in your lower back, and over time, it will lead to a lot of fatigue and soreness. Here's how to fix it. Sit on the corner of your chair, and when you start to feel tension building up in your lower back, send your right leg backwards, like this. This will create a rotation in your hips, which will act as a tension release mechanism. So you can play like this. And release the tension. You will notice a big improvement in your endurance as an orchestral player. So, another big issue I see in violinists and violists has to do with the alignment of the body. So, the viola is a heavier instrument than the violin, so if you are not aligned properly, you're going to feel it very quickly. Here's how to check if your alignment is correct. What you are aiming for when you bring your instrument to your body is to have the weight of the viola go directly into the elbow and then directly into the knee below. Here's how to do it. Put your left leg on the chair like a pirate, bring your instrument to your body, and make sure that there is an alignment between the instrument, the elbow, and the leg. Very often, you will see that some people will be turned either this way or this way. If you play that way, you will get very sore very quickly. Try to play a scale in that configuration. You should notice it is much easier to play the instrument that way. Many violists and violinists complain about back pain. One of the most common causes of back pain is an improper alignment of the spine. Here's how to fix it. Find a corner or a door which you can prop up and lean yourself against this way. Take a step forward and lean back against the corner. You should touch the corner with the top of your back, with the bottom of your back, but not in the middle. You should be able to get your hand through the middle. Now, with this alignment, try to keep it and play the viola. You should notice a big increase in ergonomics, and it should be much easier to actually play the instrument that way. One of the main problems this fixes is due to the fact that the instrument being quite heavy, it tends to push our spine a certain way. By preserving the spine alignment, you will be able to play for much longer, with less pain, and for more years. Notice how the moment I started being pushed around, the sound improved so much. Here's where this comes from. If you hold tension in your body, one of the best ways to get rid of it is to ask one of your friends to push you a little bit. First of all, what not to do. Push me. You feel this resistance? This is tension in your body. Now push me again. Great. I'm keeping both of my feet on the ground. I'm not doing this. So you want to keep both of your feet on the ground. However, you want to feel like one of those things in front of the car dealership doing this. This is what it should feel like inside of your body. Then your sound is going to greatly, greatly open up. If you hold any excess tension in your body, it will manifest in the sound and you will get an ugly and tense sound. You see, but what happens is you lock your hips. So when I push you, it's this what's happening. I would free the hips. One of the main problems I see, especially in violinists who start playing the viola, is that their sound is a little bit pressed, like this. Here's how to fix it. You will need a resistance band. A low resistance one will do the trick. Step on one end of the resistance band and put the other one on your right arm. Now try to play the instrument. This naturally brings the arm down and prevents you from holding tension in your right elbow. Another way to think about it is to imagine that your arm is actually hanging from the ceiling like a puppet. One of the most common problems I see both in violinists and in violists has to do with raising their shoulder. Most often this happens at the last moment where you're putting your instrument ready to play. Here's what I see most often. Someone will bring their instrument and at the last second squeeze their shoulder up just a bit. This creates quite a lot of tension in the entire upper body and is one of the most common causes of soreness, both in the arm, the neck, and the back. Here's how to fix it. Take a regular tote bag, put a book or two in there, but not too heavy, and put it on the offending shoulder. Now, bring your instrument to play. Notice the sound is already so much bigger. What this does is the moment I'm going to raise my shoulder, I'm going to feel it. So I would practice with a tote bag. If you see that the shoulder rest does not connect with your body properly, that might mean you also need to adjust your shoulder rest. This can also work for the right arm. A lot of people, when they get towards the tip, will do this. Watch my right shoulder. You see how it's going up? Creating tension in the sound. Again, take your tote bag, put it on your shoulder. The moment you raise your shoulder, you're going to feel it, and that's the easiest way to fix it. One of the most common problems I see in violists has to do with where their shoulders sit. Very often, because we use our phones so much, we kind of tend to slouch like this. In order to find the proper shoulder alignment, try this exercise. Put your hands like this, palms facing up. Now, bring your palms to your shoulders, and now bring your arms up and drop them on both sides. Now, notice, are your shoulders in the same place they were a second ago? If the answer is no, that means that your shoulders are not sitting in their proper position on a regular basis. You want to teach your body to make this shoulder position your new normal. This will greatly contribute to reducing fatigue on the instrument. Look at my neck. You see how this muscle is super tense? It comes from wanting to look at your fingers while you play. If you turn your head this way, this muscle gets very tense, and this creates so many other issues. Tension buildup in the neck, the sound gets smaller. Now, look at what happens if I turn my head just slightly to the side. Look at my neck. It is not tense anymore. Let me play the same excerpt for you. The sound is doubled. So, the main thing about this is it is okay to sometimes look at your fingers, but you never want to be static when you play the viola. If you put your head to the side, this muscle gets tense, and you stay like this for 7 minutes or 35 minutes if you play a concerto, man, you're going to get so many problems. So, what I would advise you to do is when you play the piece of your choice, try to find moments to just rotate your head slightly to the side every now and then, just to release the tension. You can also lift your head slightly for a brief second. That will have the same effect. This will allow you to play the viola for much longer without having any pain. Here's a question for you. What holds the instrument when you play? Many people will answer the head and the shoulder, like the shampoo. However, I would argue that that is a flawed vision. When do you really need the head weight when you play the violin or the viola? There are two cases. Number one, when you shift. Now, if I try to shift, especially shift down without my head, here's what happens. And my instrument will fall. So, we need the head weight for shifting. What's the other case? We need head weight when we want to do big vibrato. Now, if I try that without my head, the instrument ends up flying all over the place. This is terrible. However, when do we not need the weight of the head? When you play open strings. There is a very famous page in Clarke's sonata where the viola just plays open strings for an entire page. Now imagine how much tension I would be building up if I was holding the instrument entirely with my head, just as we were taught as kids, and then playing the open C like this. I'm going to die. So, what you want to do is find places where you can release and lift your head slightly. Here's an exercise for you. Try playing a C major scale, 3 octaves, but only use your head when you shift. Notice how much bigger the sound becomes. Now, if you cannot do this exercise because when you lift your head, the instrument slips this way, that means your setup is wrong and you should change it. Probably the instrument is not sitting on your collarbone comfortably. Another great way to get rid of tension in the neck is to scream while you play. You cannot scream and have tension in your neck at the same time. Try it. If I tense my neck and I try to scream, it makes a horrible sound. Now, if I go, ah, my neck is relaxed and my airways are open. You can check out my other video on breathing over there. Now, what's the best way to get your neighbors and your family to love you? Practice your pieces by screaming. You can also do it in the morning. I recommend that's the best time for it. Your sound just opened up by around 30%. Listen to this. Why is this sound so ugly? It is because I hold my bow wrong. The word bow hold, the expression bow hold, in my opinion, is wrong. I think what we should think about instead is guiding the bow. If I hold my bow and I have someone try to take it from my hand, it should slip out like butter. Now, let me show you what often happens. I hold my bow, try to take it from me. See this resistance? This is you squeezing with your right hand. This is why the sound is terrible. Now, let me try to play this excerpt again, and Tim will take the bow whenever he wishes. See? Slips out like butter. That's how you get a great sound. Another very common problem has to do with the thumb. If you look at someone's thumb and you see a very white tip of the thumb because someone is really squeezing really hard, one of the easiest ways to get rid of this squeezing tension is actually to practice by putting the thumb under the bow for a few minutes. Practice like this for a couple minutes and you will get rid of a lot of the tension in your bow hand. A lot of people struggle with spiccato excerpts. Those are some of the hardest to control under pressure. Here's how you can work on it. Put your bow on the string. This trick I learned from Kashkashian, by the way. So I put the credit where credit is due. And now go, ha! Notice how the sound is huge? Again, put your bow on the string, and when you go, ah, now you have springs in your knees. Your whole body is in a relaxed state. This is a great state to start playing spiccato excerpts in. This will lead to greatly increased control, both in the spiccato as well as in any soft excerpts and sections. Try this. Put your hand as if you're ready to play, look at it, and then really focus on it. See what happens? It just got really tense. I always think of awareness and perception as a string player to be very comparable to a very hot spotlight projector. If I point my spotlight projector at my left hand will actually become more tense. It also makes our awareness bubble to be very small. What I want to invite you to do is to try to expand your awareness bubble to go to the other hand, but also to the space in which you are. One of the best ways to try that is to play and focus your awareness on one corner of the concert hall and then on the other corner of the concert hall. However, you want to do that at the same time. So you want your peripheral vision to be seeing both of those corners at the same time while you play. This will take away from the pressure on the left hand, then actually will allow you to perform better. Now, look at the difference. What's the difference? The difference has to do with mobility of the instrument. I always think of the viola as being a buoy on the water. That's one of the most complicated English words to spell. I imagine the scroll of the viola as being a buoy on the water. It moves up and down with the flow of the music. Another way to think about it is to think of the string and the bow coming together as the roof of a house. When you unlock this mobility, the sound will really be able to flourish. This also will lead to reduced fatigue due to freeing up these muscles and not just pressing down with the bow towards the string. I hope you enjoyed these exercises. Once you start to master them, you might find that you are still struggling with keeping focus and being productive in the practice room. If you find yourself asking this question, then you might be interested in my in-depth guide on practicing, which I will link right there.